Hi, welcome back to the farm. My name's Roz, also known as Passion Flower, and you'll find me here each week talking about my farming and creative life. This past week has been the wettest we have had in such a long time, and it is really, really nice. I'm just looking outside now. We've got a little steady drizzle at the moment. I think I've actually still got some water on my glasses, and my hair's a little bit on the frizzy side because it's just gotten a little bit wet on the way over here. The dams are still quite empty, but our smallest one at the top, which then flows down to another two, is starting to get close to being full. It's actually like reasonably small circumference, but it's reasonably deep. And once it fills, it can then start to flow down into the others. The biggest one now, though, is not just a tiny puddle at the bottom. You can't see all of the spots that Adam has previously dug out when it was completely empty. So we're starting to maybe get some sort of traction on some of that moisture staying in the ground. There's also been a ton of frogs. Um, is it singing, croaking, this past week as well? They're all very excited for the wet weather. I mean, we are into November already, so summer's not that far away. So I don't know how much more rain we're actually going to get, but we're going to make the most of every single little bit that we have. So I'm enjoying these rainy days. The only problem is that between these rainy days, and even today is not super cold, is that we've had a couple of really hot days. So we had like a 28 and a 30, with sun, like harsh sun in between. So we had a really good amount of rain, and then the really hot day, the following day, dried up the ground basically back to dust again really quickly. So we need a few more of these kind of drizzly, drench the ground all day kind of days to help a little bit with making sure that the rain actually soaks into the ground. I've been doing a little bit of dyeing yarn this past week, just doing a few top ups and getting ready for my upcoming markets. I've got the All About Fibre and Yarn market in Warragul on the 23rd of November, followed very closely by the All About Fibre and Yarn market in Lower Templestowe, the Christmas market on the 6th of December. So I am just preparing a little bit of stock for those. If there's something in particular that you would like to see at that market, or if you would like to put in a special order and I can bring it to you at that market, please either send me a message, a comment below, send me a private message on Instagram, or send me an email, and I can help you out with that. Shortly after that Christmas market, my plan is to take a bit of a holiday. My website may stay open. I haven't 100% decided yet, but delivery times will be pushed out a little bit. Obviously, with Christmas, once you sort of get into December, nothing really tends to arrive on time. And my plan is to take from probably the week after the Lower Templestowe Christmas market, so the 14th, I'll stop recording and I will come back probably the second week of January just to take a little break, and I can have some adventures and lots of extra knitting things to share with you early in the new year. After answering the questions last week on the episode, I got some really good feedback. So thank you if you've watched that one. If you haven't, you can go back after you've been here and watch. I answered a few viewer questions. One of those questions was about yarn colours and inspiration. And that has led me this week into getting inspired to start thinking about some new collections for next year. Sometimes I will just get an idea in my head and I will just start directly dyeing it onto yarn, just playing around and seeing how things turn out. But for this next collection or next couple of collections that I'd like to do, I'm thinking about maybe doing two. I don't know. I still haven't really come up with a full plan yet, but I want to make sure that I've got enough variation in color across the collections that I want to put together and across what I've already got in my range to make sure that it's not too similar to something that I've already done. So I have been doing a little bit of drawing this week. So what I do when I want to sort of plan out a collection in this way, rather than just something that's a bit impulsive and just all sort of comes out of my head at once, something where I'm really planning ahead, I get some paper and I get a really basic set of pencils. I think I've got a set of like 12 colored pencils, and I start to sort of sketch out some colors. And what I do is I might start with like, I'll draw a base color on a white piece of paper, and then I'll play with drawing colors over the top of that or beside it, and sort of then looking at doing a few different variations of either the same colorway or of different colorways, and sit them next to each other and see how it all looks as a whole sort of story. And because I spoke about last week my dyeing practice in terms of mixing all of my colors from a series of simple, warm, and cool base colors, just having those 12 pencils is enough to get those ideas in my head about how I'm going to create the colors and take it to that other level. They obviously won't look the same as on the yarn exactly, because I can't get that depth of shade and the real like exact amounts of color with a pencil, but because you're just sort of like drawing over the top. Whereas when you can increase the intensity of one and decrease the intensity of another color and put them together, then you can create those real different colorways. So that's what I'm working on at the moment, getting those ideas in my head. And then I think over my time off, probably not until early January, I will start to play around in the dye pots with those colors, and also with a couple of new bases that I am going to potentially be bringing into the shop. So that is my early plans for 2025, and I'm quite excited about them. First to what I am wearing this week. This is the ankle. It is from the 52 Weeks of Easy Knits book. And I really like this top. It is a worsted weight yarn, but I knit it in the Mirasol, what's it called? In the Mirasol yarn Cisa, and it is a crepe style construction. So it is very light for a worsted weight yarn. And I think that's a really good way to, especially for us here in Australia where it doesn't get like super cold, to knit a worsted weight jumper without having that real heaviness of a worsted weight full woolen spun jumper. It is a really simple construction. It's a yoke style with these garter ridges all the way through. This color is called Seaweed. And yeah, I really like it. It does get a little bit funny sometimes, so we'll push the sleeves up a bit further. And because of the way this is constructed, it does get quite concertina-ish, like it all kind of compacts up around these. Um, but I do really like that that's just a little bit of interest that runs all the way through. And it was really fun and easy to knit because you didn't really have to keep track of your rows or anything, because you had those garter ridges to break up the stitch count. So you could just count your rows in between each to know how long, which is always my biggest thing when I'm doing sleeves. So for this, the sleeves went nice and quickly, and I chose to do the like half sleeves. Again, just because it is a worsted weight jumper, and it's not all that often that I need to have a worsted weight long sleeve jumper here in Australia. I mean, today is rainy, but it is still like 15 or 16 degrees, so it's not by any means cold. So yeah, you don't want to be like snuggled up in something super heavy. I have been quite busy at work this week, so I haven't done a ton of knitting that needed any brain power. I've only worked on my love cardigan, and that is all for the entire week. But I've actually done quite a lot when I looked at where I had been last week and where I am now. So I'm pretty impressed with the progress that's happening on this. And I think it's partly because I have only been working on this, but also because I just wanted to get to the next color to see what it's going to look like. So I have completely finished knitting through the second color. This is the first color. This is all yarn from the full skeins are yarn from Dizzy Devil Yarns in Tasmania. And the transition colors that I am using were hand dyed by Robin of the Unwind Craft Cafe. So yeah, this was my first color. I'll show you it all in its entirety in a minute. This is the second color, and I've just started in on the third. So last week I was all the way back here. So I've done all of this in 1 week. So yeah, I didn't think I'd done much knitting, but I have, because it's a full cardigan. So it's quite a lot of stitches. One row takes a reasonable amount of time. So let me show you. If I put my hands into the armholes, I'm going to hold it up and just have a look for a second. So you can see it's getting quite a lot of length on it. And there it is at the front. I don't know if I mentioned, so the Love cardigan pattern is actually got a stitch pattern all over it. And because I'm playing with the color and I wanted something reasonably simple, but I like the shape of this, I'm not doing the stitch pattern. I'm just transitioning through different colors to make the length. And I still have plenty of my second color, so I've got tons left for the sleeves for those. And where's my... I've got this little bit left of the light purple, which will be for the start of the sleeves. So I'll end up with leftovers of all of these gradient colors. My final color is this one here, and this will be the transition color between. So that will sit, if I can get this the right way, like that. You can't see that at all. Hang on. Wait 1 second, please. I don't have enough of this pink knit yet to be able to really show it off. But see how there's like pinks in here, but there's also some like darker purple spots. So I think that that's going to look quite nice. So I'm getting quite a bit of length in it here. It's already down to my belly button, and I've got most of this color to go, and then all of this. So it's going to end up being a nice length cardigan, which I'm really excited about. My only other modification is that so down the side, because it's in pattern in the pattern, as in it's got like this twisted stitches all over it, it calls for a purl ridge down here, but I'm actually doing like a garter ridge, and I think it looks quite nice. So I'm knitting every round on though in there, and same with just before the transition of the band, I'm doing just a knit row in there too, and I think it looks a little bit more decorative than just doing a purl bump. I don't know, I just decided to do that at the start, and so now that's what I'm doing. Also, because across the shoulders here I had chosen to put in a garter ridge before I started the mane as well. I'm not sure what I'm going to do at the bottom yet. I may do that garter ridge before I start the ribbing at the bottom. But yeah, this is still really enjoyable, and I cannot wait to wear it. I think it is just going to be fantastic. Yeah, my love cardigan. That's it for another week. Thanks for spending some time with me. If you're enjoying these videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I look forward to seeing you next week on the farm. Bye.